Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our second coaching session. It was nice to see some of you last month. We do hope that you have gained a bit more insight into Story Grammar Marker and Brady. Today, Mary Ellen, Linda, and Sheila will show us how to dig a little more by looking at where our children are through utilizing data collection forms and begin to think of possible next steps. So I don't want to spoil it anymore. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome back Mary Ellen, Linda, and Sheila.
Hello, everyone.
Hi. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I just want to go over quickly the agenda, and thank you, Becky, for the introduction. And we are going to start with sharing data collection and progress monitoring forms, one of which we worked very closely with speech pathologists through the work we've done with the Hawaii State Department of Education over the past few years to tailor it specifically for your students. And you'll notice a couple of more Hawaiian names in it that we thought would make it more identifiable for your students. And then we're going to move on to listening to 2 audio recordings that Sherry was able to collect for us of language samples of 2 4-year-olds, and she'll talk about that a little bit. And then we have transcribed those, and we're going to have you listen to the audio recording along with reading the transcription. And then we're going to identify the macro structure and microstructure elements in those language samples. And then Linda will show the annotations that she and Mary Ellen made on the macrostructure and microstructure of the language samples. And we will also talk about what we call our conversation monitoring form and checklist for play that can be used for collaboration with the classroom teachers. And then we will show the progress monitor filled in for those specific 2 language samples. And then we're going to just do a little recap on some of the previous work we've done with you on narrative language and play, and share a couple of slides that were presented last week at the American Speech Language Hearing Association conference that we thought you would like to see that involved Brady and play. So,
and as you know, we've been gearing. I'm sorry, I have a little frog in my throat tonight, but I hope you'll bear with me with my voice. We've been working a long time now on introducing narrative structure as a basis for ultimately reading comprehension and expressing what a child has read. We can also see this structure in play, and children actually begin their journey about stories in their play. So I'm very excited about tonight and what we're going to do, and I'm thanking Sherry in advance for helping us with these. So this is the narrative protocol that we developed when working with Verna Chinen and the group in Honolulu. It's called Playful Pono, and there are 5 pictures that go along with it. So the child listens to the story and then looks at the pictures put out in front of them and tells the story back using the pictures. So it's a way to document some progress. We're looking for certain things, characters, settings, actions in an age group like we're working on. So did we want to read it, or was
yeah, we could just read it now. Yeah. Can you see it? Okay,
I can see it.
Okay.
Yes. So you'll notice how the pictures are down the side, and to the right are sentences that our icons have been put in. So one warm day after school, Malia, a 2nd grader, got off the bus and started to walk home on the sidewalk in her neighborhood. She heard barking and was expecting to see her brown and white puppy named Pono, who always came to greet her in the driveway. All of a sudden, Malia spotted Pono knocking over a trash can and happily jumping around in the garbage. She was surprised and upset that he was covered with sticky, smelly stuff. Pono was very dirty, and Malia knew she could not play with him until he was clean and the trash was picked up. She thought she could give Pono a bath. She remembered that there were washing supplies in the backyard. Malia wanted to get Pono all clean so they could play. First, she called him. "Come, Pono, you are all dirty, you silly boy." Next, Malia grabbed a hose and filled the tub with water and dog shampoo. Then, Pono looked scared, so she smiled at him and helped him into the tub. Finally, she scrubbed him in the soapy water as bubbles floated around him. So playful little Pono was sparkling clean. Malia was so happy he was clean, and she played with him all afternoon. Malia hoped Pono wouldn't play in the garbage anymore. Now, just as an aside, you'll notice that this is an episode where there are characters, the setting, the kickoff, the feelings, some mental states, actions in a sequence, and a consequence, and then a feeling at the end. So this is what Sherry read to the children. And when we are looking at this with the students that we're working with, who are pre-K up to kindergarten, at the beginning, to see if children are including characters, are they including any setting words? And you'll see there are places here to check pronouns, character names, settings that happen to be in the story itself, and then action sequences. The actions, either just actions without putting them in a sequence, or actions that are in a sequence, which would be our goal. So we aren't going to go past really looking for characters, settings, actions, and possibly a kickoff. So this is one of the protocols. And then this is the microstructure part that we've talked about, where the child uses or shows that he uses some cohesive words like and then, because, all of a sudden, those words that we've talked about as we've progressed thus far with you. So these are the data collection sheets that go along with the story. And at the beginning, I showed you the stages of narrative development with the icons that build on each other, where the icons are added gradually through stage 5. This one is in words, and the icons are down the side. And as you look from left to right, you see that it has filled in, with left being the beginnings. And as children progress over years sometime, they get eventually to the stage 5, to the narrative, and then above that. You'll notice there's cohesive tie annotations at the bottom. So down the side are the icons for a complete episode, and then just it progresses from left to right with more under each of the columns. These are the pictures that go along with the story. So this is picture number 1. And there's the girl and the tail of the dog. There's the dog with the trash. There's a banana, an apple, a sock, ice cream, a doll. There she is filling up the tub with the water with the intent of giving Pono a bath. And here he is It's not bad, sitting there with all the bubbles around him. And at the end, Pono is all cleaned up and looking wonderful. So these are the pictures that would be in front of the child. And here we are with the first, and now I think we're going to have Sherry. She's going to say something. Sherry, are you there?
Yes, I am. So I guess so these audio recordings, and I guess what Mary Ellen and Sheila did, they actually typed them out, which is great. So these two boys are in special education preschool, both of them 4 years old. This first boy is just overall more quiet, and he's harder to understand. He seems to have a lot more words, but you know, he just talks in a softer voice. So maybe he said some words, but I couldn't understand even in the recording. So he doesn't get speech therapy. The second child does get speech therapy. The second child has been in our program for a year, and this first child has been in our program for about a year and a half. So, you know, both kids do have expressive language. So one gets speech therapy, one doesn't. But there are some articulation things with the first child, but I'm not sure if it's because he speaks so softly in addition.
That was a component, we thought, as we were listening to it, that it was soft. So we were going to play a recording of them as you sent them in sequence. And then we're going to analyze them for the macro structure, the story grammar structure that we saw, and then for the sentence structure that we saw. Okay.
So that didn't,
Want me to press it?
hold on, no, I don't think it's, okay, it's not gonna let me,
I could,
so I'll just come back over to your computer, it's fine.
it worked this morning. Shall I just press it?
Wait a minute, let me get back the control, hold on. Okay, well, sorry, hold on one second. I thought this was gonna work, and it worked earlier, but it's not seeming to work right now.
It worked beautifully this morning.
Okay, it's all right. It's
Okay.
all right. Okay. So, okay.
Good dog. What did you say? You saw the what? The dog. It's tail. You saw the dog's tail. What about the second picture? Onions. What do you see in the second picture? The rubbish fell down. The rubbish fell down. What about the third picture? What is the third picture? Okay, you can take this right after. Okay, we're almost done. What about the third picture? Oh, yeah, so this is water. He's gonna take a bath, and there's doggy soap. Is that what you said?
Hold on. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Ugh, of course, just when you want it to be perfect. Hold on a second. So, I'm sorry. We might have to listen to the beginning part for some reason. Sorry.
You saw the dog's tail.
So this will
What about the second picture?
Sorry, we're having to listen to this again. I'm sorry.
What
don't
do
know
you
why.
see in the second picture?
I know why it won't.
The rubbish fell down. What about the third picture? What is the third picture? Okay, you can take this right after. Okay, we're almost done. What about the third picture? Oh, yeah, so this is water. He's gonna take a bath. And there's doggy soap? Is that what you said?
Now this is the
What
part.
about this picture? Oh, yeah, wow, that was a lot of sentences. So he's gonna get clean and take a bath? Oh, anything else? Wait, did you use the word scrub? Oh, doggy soap they're gonna use. And what is this last picture? Oh, the dog is clean now? Oh, thank you so much, boy.
So cute. Wait, oops. Oh God. Oh my gosh, wait a minute.
What did
Sorry.
you say?
I don't know why it won't stop. Okay.
I love the way you reinforced him.
And
Okay.
I guess just to add, it was the day before Halloween or 2 days before Halloween, so he got his treat. So I think he got distracted. And I don't really know him. I've just been in the class a couple of times, but very willing and eager to participate. So I'm sure his teacher could have got a lot of much better responses, but they were very willing.
That's wonderful.
No,
That's
it was
wonderful.
great. It was really great. Sorry, the audio, it worked. It worked when I originally did it, but oh well.
So anyway, Linda typed these into the forms, and then we worked together to analyze them for the macro and the micro structure. And Linda, were you going to talk about this page?
Sure. What I do is I find it's easier to put the utterances in a table, and then it's easier to cut and paste the MindWing icons from I forgot the name of the product where the icons are, but I just find it easier to do it that way. And separating out, so each utterance goes in its own box. And then if the teacher's utterance goes in the second box, whatever she's responding to, teacher utterances are put inside brackets. And if we were unable to understand it, we just wrote unintelligible. And in addition to putting the macro structure down the left-hand side, I use a coding system that we used at the Curtis Blake Day School. So if the child uses a cohesive tie, we circle that because it's joining two things together. And if they use an adverb, we put a double line under it. When they get older and they're using critical thinking words like think about or wonder, we would use a triangle. And if they use a noun phrase where they describe something, I think he didn't say doggy tail, but the other boy said doggy tail. So a noun phrase, we would put parentheses at the beginning of the end of that. So by doing this, it's very easy to look at the macro and the micro all at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you know that the macro is the story grammar structure, the narrative structure, but it's put together by the sentences that children use. And we were thrilled to see all the cohesive ties here.
Yes.
Well,
we were thrilled, and we were thrilled to see that he had character and he had setting and he had actions and he had the resolution at the end. That was fabulous. A retell is exactly what you would do with somebody his age. Sherry had told him the story first and then he was retelling it, and he did a really super job.
I think that was, and we'd expect to hear this in his play also, as would be in the classroom. So I'm going to go to the next one. This is the second little boy, Sherry, and you talked about him.
Okay, all right.
And we're going to listen to him now. And then show his macro structure.
What do you see in the first picture?
A dog.
A dog. What about this picture?
You saw the dog, ice cream, socks, and also.
Oh, you see all the things in the garbage, right?
Yeah, this is the dog with his tail.
Oh,
One
yeah.
of his dog is broken.
Oh, something's broken, yeah, you said. Okay, what does this picture say?
The dog.
Who's gonna take a bath?
The dog.
Oh, the dog's gonna take a bath. Anything else you see? Okay, what about this picture?
He's just clean.
The dog is what?
He's gonna get his wash.
Oh, the dog's gonna get washed.
And baby that
Oh, and what is the last picture?
he's clean.
The dog is clean.
He had great tone of voice.
There we
Yeah,
go.
this second child is easier. He's just the total opposite. He has a very loud voice compared to the first child. If the two could find the balance, it would be great. The second child has a shorter attention. So they were doing something, they were gonna go on the Halloween trick or treat at the office. So he was like ready to leave, but he knew that he had to, we were gonna finish. So I think we could have got a little bit more words at the end, but he knew that he had to do the 5 cards and stuff. So he was cooperative though.
Yes, and he has a lot of attention to the setting, which we were glad to see. Linda, did you want to chat about this a little?
The same thing. I mean, first of all, we look at macro structure, and once again, we were so excited to see characters, setting, and actions, exactly what we would expect for somebody his age. And I just wanted to explain under the last bead where it said he's going to get his wash is in parentheses, he's going to get wash. If a child says an utterance and then reformulates it and fixes it, the first part that they said is in parentheses because he clarified himself. He had said he's going to get his wash, but he realized that's really not exactly what he wanted to say. He wanted to say he's going to get wash. So that's why that part was in parentheses. But again, it was a super job.
Yes, that was great. So the next section is we're going to take apart our thoughts about the sentence structure within each of these. So right up until now, we know that both boys have mentioned the character, they've mentioned things about the setting, they've picked them out and talked about them. They've talked about actions, and they've got a consequence or an ending of some sort. So this is, Linda did this in Cami, a program for annotation. And then we worked on annotating together. So
is everybody able to see this?
Mm-hmm.
Are you able to see this, Mary Ellen, the camera?
I am.
Okay, all right. So I wanted to make sure everybody can see
I can
this.
see the data checklist for play.
The data checklist for play. Let me
No,
see.
I can only see the
That's
hold
what
on.
I see.
Wait, hold on. Mary Ellen's just got to stop sharing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I didn't realize that.
Do you, I
Yep.
have,
Yes.
do you see?
And now,
narrative?
yep, now we can see your screen.
Yeah.
So narrative M4A.
Yes.
Okay, super.
4A.
Okay. So this is the first child. And I just import the, when you type something up into one of those, into a Word document, I resave it as a PDF, and then you can import it, upload it into Cami, and then you're allowed to make comments on it and add whatever you want to it. So Mary Ellen and I went through this. So even though it says Linda LaFontaine over on the right-hand side there, that's really just because I'm the one that's putting the annotations in. This is information from Mary Ellen as well. So we had just made the first comment, the blue, we don't know what he said. It sounded like he was saying the blue dog. We don't really think he was saying blue. Maybe he was saying new. We thought this, but he clearly has a descriptive word there. So this was the beginning of a noun phrase. So that was cool.
Yes, and you know, as we talked about nouns and verbs, we like to see those, but then when you start to see an adjective describing a noun, you've got the beginning of a noun phrase. And so this was very great.
We loved it.
Yeah.
And then he continued his description of the character. Our second comment is just stating that he's providing some more description in a great simple sentence. So that was great to see as well.
And I loved Sherry when he said the dog, he has a tail, and you said you saw the dog's tail. So you were further modeling another language way of saying the same thing, which was great. So we had description and a simple sentence there, as you said, Linda.
Yep. And then in the third comment, we are just commenting that he is now using some additive cohesion using the word and. He actually matched his tenses. He gets out and goes down. That was super. And then additionally, he's using the adverb down. So that little utterance was packed with information that he was providing his listener.
Yes. And so he goes where, down. And Linda mentioned how he matched his tenses for the setting. That was something that was great. Okay.
And then he continued on here, the rubbish fall down. So he continues to, he's describing the setting. He's elaborating the noun phrase, elaborating the verb phrase by using the adverb down again. So that was great. It was just a great description of that picture as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sherry worked really hard to get him to talk about the third picture. And he was clearly interested in something else, but he got to the point there and he says that really long sentence. He put water and he's going to take a bath and going to grub him Wim doggy soap. So we're assuming that he wanted to say a scrub. His word grub really was scrub. And Wim, we believe, probably was the word with. So we had many comments that we noticed in this fantastic utterance. He had 3 actions in one sentence using additive cohesive tie. Doggy soap is a noun phrase. He had the preposition with, and we just made a comment that he just needs to focus on pronoun usage because he uses a lot of he's, referring both to female and male characters in the story. But that was a great utterance.
Yes, it was. Okay, go ahead.
And then farther down, he continues to clarify. He's going to take a bath and grub him, and he's going to be clean and shiny. Again, he was making an inference that he was going to be clean and shiny, a predictive one. He had continued to use the word and he's gonna is really a precursor to the utterance he is going to be. So that these things were just super.
Yes, and that modal, it's called a modal, gonna. And when you think of it, you think they're expressing the present progressive, which would be is going, and then an infinitive. That's what it's going to lead to. So those are good predictors. Yeah,
it was adorable. And he's going to clean it, and he's going to be so unintelligible clean in the bath. So he said in twice. So the first time was he stated it, but then he wanted to clarify that, and he repeated it again, in the bath. So now we see the preposition in. He appears to be making use of evaluation and expansion. He's gonna, and he had additive cohesion in the prepositional phrase in the bath. So again, he's doing a super job.
And when we're thinking about young children and prepositions, in, on, and under are the first ones to model. If you don't notice them, if you don't notice a child using them, model with them in, on, and under during play.
And so it appeared that from where Sherry's utterance above, where she said, oh yeah, so this is water, he's going to take a bath, because in the utterance before that, he just said he gonna, but then she modeled he's gonna, and then we noticed that he's gonna started appearing in his utterances. So he was making use of the feedback that he received from Sherry to improve his utterances.
Yeah, that's great.
And then we just love those little you did that. I just love to see that cute little face. And that was just great turn taking. She was asking him something and he knew that he needed to respond. He didn't have any specific information to add, but he wanted the conversation to continue. Yes. And then he wrapped it up saying, Doggy soap, again, another noun phrase at the end.
And getting back to that little conversation, he was establishing that he wanted to participate in the conversation, which was a great
So
idea.
cute, yeah.
Mhm.
And then the last comment was just he had additive cohesion and some more additional descriptive information.
So we loved to see this because we would expect to see it in play. And the fact that it was seen in a story given by the pictures was, and it came from him, was wonderful. Okay.
It's adorable.
Did you want to go to the next page?
And I will go to the next student here, see if this works. Are we seeing the other child now?
5, yes.
Okay, so
Mhm.
again, using the same format, I turned the narrative that had been typed up as a Word document, saved it as a PDF, imported it into Cami, and then it allowed us to make the comments on it. And our first comment was he had vocabulary pertaining to the setting. And he, oh, I spelled cohesion incorrectly there, and additive cohesion and. So he was really getting into the setting here because he talked about the doll, the ice cream, the socks. He was really labeling everything in that picture.
And when you think of it, those are the details that we like to see in writing later on. So it was wonderful for us to see that.
And then we liked that line, I think the doll is broken. He was elaborating the setting using a descriptive word, and he was using a mental state verb, the word think. That's just real cool to see that.
Mhm.
Furthermore, he said the word just a bath, and I'll have Mary Ellen explain here what is going on there.
Yes, I wanted to think about that because the what does this picture say is what Sherry said to him, and he said a bath. And when we're looking at responses like that, it's not, he didn't say the dog is going to take a bath. He just used one word to express the whole thing. And that's a beginning, it's called a holophrase, HOLO, where there's one word to show a whole thing. So we see that a lot as children are really starting to develop their sentences. So when he looked at that picture, it was a bath. And later on, I would imagine that he would be able to start talking about he's going to get his wash, which he did. He's going to get washed in the bath. So I just wanted to talk about that as a holophrase. And then as children progress, they might say, you know, a further advancement of that would be dog bath, which would be a 2-word utterance related to the holophrase bath, but it wouldn't yet be a whole sentence. So you've got children in the group who are probably using holophrases, and you find yourself expanding on those holophrases, which is wonderful to do. But I just wanted to isolate that and talk about that a little bit.
And then Sherry continued to ask him questions to get more information.
Mhm.
And at one point she said, oh, the dog's going to take a bath, anything else you see. And those 3 periods are there because they stand for a 5-second pause where he did not say anything. But it's important to note that when you've asked a question and there isn't a response, you document that somehow. So then she followed up with, what about this picture? She moved on to something else. And he then continued to talk about the dog getting clean. And again, he's going to get his wash was in parentheses because he clarified to say that he's going to get wash. And again, he added the present progressive that is, but by putting it on the end of he's, and again, that's a precursor to is going to get. So that's cool stuff to see.
Mhm.
And then finally, at the end, he said he's clean, which really his tone of voice indicated that there was an outcome, there was a consequence, something had happened as a result of all these efforts. And he really wanted to drive home that point with his listener.
Mhm. So right now, these 2 boys have the character. This boy had a lot of attention to the setting words. They have actions that are in an order, and both of them had an ending, which we thought that was great. And of course, from here, we would think about expanding stories, but right now that's where their play would probably be as well.
All right. Now, I'm not sure what the next thing is. Am I doing the conversation monitoring or am I stopping share? Is there something in
Okay, you're
between?
stopping sharing for a minute.
That's what I thought. Okay, good.
And then,
Thank you, Sherry. Those were
that was
so
good.
fun to listen to you.
yes, that was great. That was perfect.
I hope you enjoyed seeing what we did with them.
Yeah, that's so
We-
neat. Oh my
we-
goodness. I'm going to share it with the teacher and the
Yeah.
speech pathologist.
Yeah, there
Well,
was a lot there.
I
There's a
think,
lot.
okay, so I think we were just gonna show, oh, maybe,
Yeah, we were going to do the data checklist, Linda.
I guess we
Okay.
were gonna do
And-
that before we got there. Okay,
Okay, so do you want me to share again?
Yes.
yes.
All righty,
Sorry about that.
And
no
you know,
problem.
the whole focus of tonight is to really, because you're the coaches, and it's really to show how something like this could be brought back to the teacher or looked at together with the teacher when you're wanting to see someone's strengths and how to have the child progress, how to help the child progress.
And sometimes you really don't know how much they're doing until you type this up and look at it. And you're like, wow, this is really cool. There's a lot there. It's so hard to take stock of everything by just trying to listen. It's sometimes you just have to record it and type it up and look at it.
Mhm.
So this is another form that Mary Ellen has created, the data checklist for play daily activities. So if we were looking at that first little child, that was number, I think that the number of that narrative was 4MA. So this
Yes.
was the very first one. We would take the information that he was had given us, and using this form, we can use a shape. We can take a circle, and we can plug a circle in here and document that we know he had care. Whoop, I don't know what I'm sorry. I forgot to put it on. Let me see if I can. Well, we'll leave a triangle there for now, but
Yes.
any shape you can use. We know he had characters and settings. He also had actions listed. He also had actions sequenced in the right order. And I'm going to make a comment about that in a second. And we also know that he had some action sequence with cohesive tie. So we can add another text box here and just say that the actions were sequenced with teacher support. And then we could say additive cohesion. And then just put in parentheses what it was. So you can use this form in any way you would like. And
So
Mary
that-
Ellen, you can go on and add some more.
That just kind of documents that, and the fact that there were sequenced actions is major, and the fact that the cohesive tie and was used, we could really think about going to the cohesive ties of first, next, then with this child, and modeling that when we're doing our I-dos, our gradual release of responsibility. So that's about all I wanted to say.
All right, I'm trying to get rid of some of these things here. I'm just going to get rid of that. I don't care about the file not be. There we go. Now the second part of this form is down here.
Mhm.
And let me move this box, and I have to rotate this back. There we go. So this is an additional format to monitor a conversation. And this could be used to monitor that child. So we could put a text box over here, and he could be, I'm just calling him 4MA, and he would be 1, and then the other child would be 5, I think it was, or M4A. I don't know if I have the numbers right, but whatever, you get the idea. So Sherry would really be the one that would help if she can chime in and tell us what she thinks would be important to state about this child here.
And when I put this together, it was with the explicit intent of having a coach or 2 teachers work together, looking at a child's a child sample, and the first time I used it was in professional development. And we all had the same sample, and just talked about how the child appeared to start a conversation, establish a joint reference. The child would either look at the pictures, look at the teacher, somehow lean in or something to show that there was going to be a conversation. And it progresses from that, where children appear to understand body language and responding to general conversations. Does the child initiate a conversation? Because some children don't initiate, but they do respond. So it goes from there all the way down to asking and answering questions on their own as we progress all the way down there. And we've been spending a lot of time on the question forms, crowd and peer. So this is kind of a general way of looking at a child to start a conversation with another adult about how to help that child and notice his or her strengths. So with that introduction, Sherry, I was just wondering, were there some of these that you might think about with this child when you were working with him with body language, for instance?
So there was the joint reference. So it helped to have the cards. So,
Yes.
I used that to tell the story. Then I put them down one at a time. So, the focus for both boys actually were pretty good. They looked at the picture and they were able to give me some information. I think they understand body language. I think they understood more my body language. Like when I was moving the cards around and, trying to, I guess, move them along. I think they use body language to let me know that they were done.
Yeah.
One of them, I think his Halloween treat came, and then I had to redirect to say, you can have that later, put it by your bag and stuff like that. So, I mean, they let me know, and the second boy, he wanted to go. I mean, I could see him kind of shifting in his chair. So, I mean, he gave me body language to know that he was ready to go. They do respond to conversations. Within this task, they didn't initiate conversation though. And I think this task was a retell. So, I don't think I gave them a lot of opportunity.
Well, they did. The boy who said,
Oh yeah.
Well, that was kind of a conversational turns. He took a turn. I should have said this at the beginning, that you don't have to necessarily rate them 1 to 3. You can just, at the beginning of something like this, just put a check mark to determine whether or not you saw that. It doesn't have to be rated, but some children will use more of these than others, and it's a place to begin.
And if you're filling this out with the teacher, they're going to be able to really tell you, they're probably going to help you be able to rate. So this is really something where you want that teacher feedback to know whether it never happens often or always. So you can both children can be put on, more than one child can be put, a text box can be put here, and the other child was 5 M4A. So you would just do that and you could rate them both on the same chart, just going right down through this. So I was just throwing them in there for the heck of it, just to show you to see it, just to show you how it could be done.
Yes. So this is, I have found that this is a great beginning thing to use when you're going into a teacher as a coach. That was my primary job at the college school that the School for Children with Dyslexia that our college ran. So anyway, also maintaining a topic over conversation turns. They took a turn with each of your questions.
Yes.
You tried to extend the conversation by, you know, helping them by reinforcing what they said. But is the child able to do that? That would come a little later. But some people will notice in play that a child doesn't do that with their playmate. You know, some children may be doing, you know, real play, I'll call it, and others are still doing parallel play, you know, where they're not doing that yet. So, okay.
I think both boys, they do play, so they do this a little bit more than parallel, so some interactive, but I
Mhm.
think they need the modeling or the
Yes.
prompting, because I think they can extend their sentence, you know, the words in the sentence, but it's so much easier to just say, you know, like play with blocks or something instead of, you know, or they just use the word block, but actually they are able to say the big, you know, square block or hollow block or whatever they want. So I think it's just the adult helping to facilitate a lot of that conversations would benefit, especially the first boy.
Yes, and I think if we think in terms of that gradual release for all these children, and we think of our role there,
Mhm.
and the things we've learned so far, that's a great comment, Sherry. Okay,
Yes.
and you know,
And it
if
sounds like they're kind of down here. Does the child had information to scaffolded questions? And when you scaffolded and kept asking for more information, they were providing you more information.
mhm. And
they, yeah.
there are some children who will not be doing that.
Right.
And it would be good to hone in on that type of thing to give the child more support.
And then down here, it's Marianne has identified various WH questions. So those could be circled. You could put a circle around one and then document whether it's seen over here. So it's nice to delineate the different types of questions.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, you can even comment on, you know, your crowd questions.
Correct.
Even there. So, you know, and back up above, there wouldn't be an opportunity to observe whether they could recount an experience independently. But I would think that if the child is at an action sequence in a story like this, that in their life, they would be able to do that. And that's something you could foster with Brady as a model, doing,
Right.
just talking about something they did that day.
And actually this classroom, the teacher uses Brady. She calls it like a social skills. So it's in her calendar, it's in her schedule. She spends about 5 or 10 minutes. And so she's the teacher that actually takes pictures of the kids and, you know, especially when I guess they misbehave or, you know, do something that maybe, you know, they shouldn't have. So I didn't use Brady for, you know, this, but I know they know Brady because I've sat in on when I was there, she was doing, you know, the pictures with the kids. And, you know, I saw another child answer because the two boys, it was about the two boys who we talked about today. You know, they kind of got into it.
Oh.
So it was kind of funny. So another girl answered, which I was totally shocked because she hardly speaks. But yeah, it was kind of interesting. So no, but yeah, you're right. Using Brady to facilitate, especially their play and to expand, because yeah, they just need the facilitation.
And you're making a good point about Brady. Sometimes when a child cannot do the story, even with the pictures, if it's just too overwhelming for them and they're just not responding at all, I would then give them the manipulative to hold on to and see if they could tell the story with me pointing to the head of Brady and then the setting and then the various beads, just leaving it to the character setting the actions. So if a child cannot tell you the story of the Pono and Malia story, into, just using the pictures, you would scaffold down and use Brady to have them tell it to you.
And I was also thinking of the child who doesn't usually comment, the girl you just mentioned, Sherry, who doesn't usually talk. A lot of times Brady will facilitate that because the child will see the situation via Brady and be able to communicate. And people have said to me, oh, I can't get over how many more words the child says. And it's really that they are taking a chance because they've got a better concept of what of what is being done. So I really think that this form is worthwhile, which is why we wanted to present it tonight.
And if we went back up to this form, the other child could just as easily be documented on this one. Whoop, I think I'm going the wrong way here, but here we go. So you could just put the, put another text box down here, and it could be, a black one, and that child's was, I think he was 5, M4A was his recording. And again, going to some shapes and using the circle, you could do the same thing. We noticed that he had the same thing, the character, the setting, he had actions, he had them sequenced. And I think he used the word "and." I can't remember now if that one, I should look at it. Yep, he had 1. So the same thing. And you could say additive cohesion. I could have added to this one additive cohesion. I could have counted up the number of times. The first little boy had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, which was great. He also had the the same comment would work, action sequence with teacher support, additive cohesions, and would be down here for this little boy. But number 4, this boy up here, he also, he had, whoop, I want to be at the end of it. He also used the adverb down.
Oh, yes. So that was expanding the verb phrase.
So, and you could say additive cohesion, and we could say times 9. However you want to do it. I mean, it's just what makes it work for you.
And, I think something like this at a meeting, when you want to meet with someone to see, a lot of times people might say, oh, they're using so much more language. But if you can document it on something like this, it gives you somewhere to say, oh, this is where we've come. And it also gives you an idea because the progression of story grammar, where you're going. And it helps you to do the gradual release.
Yeah, we need to.
Okay.
So,
And just my last comment is it's a positive thing because it's showing what the child can do. You're showing a progression and then you can add on to it. So I like it when it shows what they can do, not a discussion of what can't be done.
right, exactly. Thank you, Linda, for doing all that on Cami. And we're just going to finish up. We've only got a few minutes left, and we wanted to just quickly share these slides, a couple of slides from that were in, wait a minute now. Oh, we did we show that one yet or no?
No, that page you can do.
Oh, okay. Well, this is how we filled out the progress monitor. The purple is the first child and the green is the second child. And I think it's pretty evident that it's exactly where we figured that they would fall when we showed you the sort of yellowed in area at the beginning. And that you can look at with the handout that Becky sent and that's in the chat. So, because now you have that protocol. And we're just going to show, if you want to just,
Well,
just to wrap up.
The American Speech Language and Hearing Association convention was this past week. And Linda and I had done a presentation for it on social communication. And I did one with Anna Vagan on using video animation. And anyway, this also was presented, and it was presented by people who work with Michelle Garcia Winner and social thinking. And I had mentioned that before to you about how Michelle and I have had a interaction about the things that we do separately, but that the narrative is a big picture item in both of our focuses. So Linda, you had brought this to my attention, and I didn't know, did you want to talk about it?
Well, what they were pointing out that when children play, they are developing the skills that are the same skills needed to develop reading comprehension, linguistic competence, abstract thinking, ability to see the big picture, executive functioning, and perspective taking. But both to develop these skills in play, as well as developing these skills in reading comprehension, we use the narrative as the format to develop all of these skills. The narrative is the glue that brings these things to life, whether they're in a child's play or whether they're trying to understand something that they're reading.
Yes.
Okay.
And they did a great presentation, and they had a video of this brother and sister, and they were playing. And these individuals use Brady, and they had divided the child's video into a beginning, middle, and end. So the play scenario they set up, the play scenario was the bear falling off a mountain and into the ocean. And then they identified the middle part of the story and then the end. But they further identified that the bear falling off the mountain into the ocean was the beginning. And then just go back one slide. Yep. And then that the rescue attempts were the middle of the story, and the bear was offered cheese and swims out. So Sheila went in and added the icons, because the beginning of the story was the character, the setting, and the kickoff. The middle of the story was all the attempts, the rescue attempts. And then there was one attempt that resulted in a direct consequence. So on the next slide, the individuals who worked with the children showed how they could analyze this video according to a narrative structure, so that this play was the basis for reading comprehension. So the polar bear and the child, the little girl was the kid, fell in the ocean, and her plan was to rescue him. First, she gave him her hand, then she handed him a purse, then she handed him a cup, and it wasn't until she gave him some cheese that he swam out and he was saved. So it just really showed again that this play that they're doing is solidified and based in the narrative. That is the format they're using to develop their comprehension that they will need for reading comprehension.
And since we've been talking about this with you all this time, it was great to see that presented by
Yes.
another group who really deal with play as well. So I think that's
And then the final slide an additional slide they presented, which is our final, is that this narrative format can be used in the center. So here again, this that they put the word initiating event in this fire center, and they are the ones that put the word setting, and they put characters down there, and then Sheila just add the icons. But if you set up a play scenario, paying attention to characters, setting, and initiating event, you again are laying the basis for that narrative foundation that is so important to directing their play, setting up these joint plans that they can do, joint rescues together. And then that lays the basis again for their reading comprehension down the road.
And elaborating on all the little details as we showed in the story.
Yeah, and it allows them to have that joint reference.
Stop sharing.
Okay.
As usual, we have a lot of content.
That went awfully fast. I hope it went fast for you, but for us, I thank you, Sherry, for doing that kind of on the spur of the moment like that. And Linda for all your expertise, and Sheila too. So I just thought it was great to end with that play focus that was shown at ASHA and the story grammar marker. So
Becky, did you have anything to say at the end to wrap up?
Yeah, if everybody could just complete our Google survey, I put it in the chat, and you can check out our website for our upcoming schedules for not only the last coaching session, but also our spring session. But I just wanted to say thank you again. Going through that really helped us see how to use the forms, as well as thinking about what our next steps would be for those forms. How would we work with those children? And also just thinking how we would do it with somebody else. I was just kind of, it was just going through my mind like, oh, it would be kind of nice if, you use 2 different colors, maybe from the baseline, and then maybe a mid-quarter one or something like that, just so that you could see that progress, and it'll be something that you could actually show to the families too, right? And I like the presupposition, that positive presupposition of always having that, seeing what they can do and assuming that, they can do it, and show it, oh, hey, look, they can do it, instead of looking at those negatives.
Correct.
So, having that in the back of our minds and being able to use those forms to help us, when we really look at our children. And I like the way, having the recording, because when you're thinking about it, you're like, oh yeah, that was great. But then when you have a recording, you could actually rewind it and think about it again and be like, and, really pick it out, and, just being able to go back, have that conversation with somebody else, what are your thoughts on this, and, getting that from them. So I think that would really help too.
And that's really true, Becky, what you just said, because one of the things that we were even noticing is sometimes you might say, oh, I could barely understand this kid, and he didn't really say very much. But then when you really look at it, it was incredible what they were both able to convey, especially that first one, where he was unintelligible some of the times. But when you really listen to the recording and you really got the content, he has a lot there, and if you're just, just in a classroom situation, it's really hard to see all a child can do. And it's also really empowering for a teacher and empowering for a student to know that they can do all of this. Hey, you had, and Sherry was really good about reinforcing that with them. But I think that's a big takeaway, I think, to really be able to show teachers that they can really elicit some great content from their students that makes them feel like, wow, I'm teaching them something, and just for the child to know that they're progressing too.
And document, I always save forever my first tapings of a child. I don't have so many, but just because you can play that again in a year and you can say, oh my goodness, look where we've come.
And if you walk into our office here in Massachusetts and you pull open the drawer as you walk in, you will see 8,000 cassette tapes that now we have nothing to play them on. So technology definitely helps, but so anyway, well, we also wanted to wish you a happy Thanksgiving and happy and healthy Thanksgiving. My father has COVID this past couple of weeks, so we've been kind of in a quarantine. So tomorrow it ends. So we are on to a happy, healthy Thanksgiving. So that was a kickoff.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I hope you found this useful.
Thanks
I'll
again.
see you again in January.
Hello. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, that's right. We'll see you in January.
Well, aren't we going to have a meeting?
Well, no, but everybody.
Yes, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.